Artworks that highlight key environmental or social issues through thought-provoking designs are now spreading and creating a lot more awareness to our actions and their impact on the planet. Breathing second life to trash and transforming it into beautiful art is one hopeful act where we can address the often problematic life cycle of single-use plastics.
It's interesting to see creative fields becoming more environmentally and socially responsible. After all, saving the planet is art. But how do art and the environment actually come together? I'm Paolo Abrera. Let's find out here on One Small Act.
Artists have always encouraged us to open our eyes and see what's happening around us. And today, we talk to an artist designer whose practice combines different materials ranging from waste objects to organic elements and creating massive and immersive public art. Please welcome none other than Leeroy New.
All right, Leeroy, congratulations on the exhibit, by the way. But first, let's take a few steps back, actually, and talk about your journey to where you are now. Let's start at the very beginning. Where did the journey as an artist for you begin?
My parents would claim that I was grabbing pencils left and right and scribbling all over our walls. So I guess I would say I was one of those kids who chose drawing as their form of play, and I just never stopped. I got exposed to alternatives of creative practices. We had no art centers or art galleries, so I had to seek out my artistic sources from sci-fi films, fantasy, illustrated comic books, and card games, and movie magic. I didn't know it back then, but this would define how I would apply my arts training.
How would you describe, I don't know, your practice, your style, and sort of the genre that you occupy?
I've always wanted to participate in the physical transformation of my immediate environment, and I drew inspiration from watching these movie magic shows when I was younger. I saw how they would build massive sets, create like these fantastic costumes, prosthetics, scale models, and I wanted to be a part of that.
Okay, you used the word transformative, transformation. That seems to be a key, an important part of how you describe your art.
Back then, there weren't too many channels, platforms, and avenues for artists. And I wanted to kind of harness artistic practice to participate in improving our state as a society, find better ways, more proactive ways to harness art making and provide solutions for the concerns of today.
Right. Okay, I like that. Solutions, statements, and that's sort of where you circulate. At what point did you sort of start to develop a concern for the impact your art makes, the impact your art process makes and leaves?
Well, in the beginning, I just wanted to do large-scale environments. At first, I was just concerned about like doing work, and so I was concerned about getting the cheapest materials, which eventually led me to recycling centers. I had mentors who would teach us to use sawdust, which was basically free, and turn it into a sculpting material. And you see it all around you also. We basically don't throw things away. We use everything as decor for our holidays and fiestas. What started out as something practical and out of necessity has become a kind of conscious decision, a conscious challenge to consider where these materials are sourced, where they end up after.
How important is art as far as a tool to drive consciousness about and just start questioning as you did?
Art has always been a way for me to respond to the world, and art can easily be a way to, like I said, transform your environment for the values that you hold. Through my art making, I'm able to model these practical ways wherein I can contribute. It is the systems that we work within that we have to challenge, like policies, education about the subject. But in my own way, I try to find ways to address what's already there, like as opposed to buying new materials. Just why not apply all my training in material manipulation to the existing problems and material wastes that are already there, like the blue plastic bottles.
They say one man's trash is another man's treasure. So when we come back, we talk more about green methods of repurposing waste and building large-scale sculptural assemblages. Bridging the gap between art and sustainability doesn't just mean upcycling and dimming the lights during exhibitions. It also means dealing with sustainable artistic procedures and processes when making art.
All right, Leeroy, let's talk about this particular part of your exhibit. What are some of the materials that we find here, and what was, I don't know, the thought process and art process that goes into this?
As much as possible, I try to use materials that we can reuse or are at the very least biodegradable.
Yep.
So the main structure is made out of bamboo, material that is very familiar to us.
Yeah. And so versatile too. I mean, you can
Very.
use it so many different ways.
We've used it in large, massive installations, and you'll notice like a lot of the embellishments
I
are
know, these
actually
alien blooms that we have here.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, really cool.
We've sourced a lot of these in our neighborhood junk shops.
Yeah, okay, so you got clear bottles that you've got some worked in some color. I think
Yep.
these are naturally colored,
Yes,
these fluorescent
the neon
plastic.
greens,
Yeah.
exactly,
Very
and
cool.
the tops and bottoms of
Okay,
the,
so another one of your favorite materials, the famous
Exactly.
galons.
Yeah, exactly,
for
exactly.
water. It's a durable material as well, isn't it?
It is. So
Yeah.
we're finding different ways to kind of use it
Yeah.
as a structural material, you know, architectural applications.
Right.
I refer a lot to like what I see in the streets to integrate it into the way I work. I've consciously kind of moved away from the traditional art making practices that I studied in art school, and you know, really look towards what is like kind of inherent in us, like as a creative people. In the courtyard of the museum, there's this huge structure made out of blue water containers.
Yeah.
It's referencing the baleta tree, which I've done since art high school. There are so many different mythologies all across the country.
Yeah.
I just wanted to reclaim that into my work and kind of like create this hybrid language of speculative Filipino sci-fi plus our pre-colonial narratives, resulting in this distinct look of the plastic waste problem, but also referencing the principles of our mythologies from before, which reference like feminine energy, regenerative energy. I managed to use those blue plastic bottles, and it makes sense as a country that relies on bottled water for our drinking water.
Yeah.
We are not a country that has potable tap water, so there's this reliance on plastic containers. And at one point, I kind of just like asked myself, like, where do these blue plastic bottles end up? And apparently, they get resold as like floaters for like fish farms, planters, and all of that. They just get like resold as something else. I was able to collect so many of them from like just like a few sources and create like this massive work. You'll see a lot of the materials here we've sourced in all sorts of junk shops. These are just things that I respond to in my immediate environment.
What's on the horizon? You said you started off with this fascination for movie sets, movie making,
Yep.
large scale things. You've now found a connection to messages of sustainability and are exploring that. What's on the horizon for you?
The next logical step would be to apply what I know now in a more practical sense. I'm looking towards actually building practical, functional structures and spaces. I love collaborating as an artist. I find it is the best way to learn and educate myself even further. If you like changing the world for the better, you really need to like work with as many people as possible, with the community. It does not fall on just this like romantic notion of the isolated artist.
The medium is the message, and much of Leeroy's approach to his art shows that rather than limit his creativity, a sustainable approach to creating art has given his work a voice that reminds us of just how powerful art can be.
Once again, this is Paolo Abrera reminding everyone that we may have a daunting task ahead of us, but we've got the solution if we all pitch in. And it all begins with one small act.